Hi, hello, how's it going? Should that be my new intro? Because it's the second time in a row I've done it. It might just become my new intro anyway. We'll see. So, anyway, you saw the title. This is a practice routine for beginners and maybe intermediate players too, but it would be on the beginner side of intermediate, if that makes any sense. Just judge for yourself if you want to do these exercises or not. I think they could be beneficial for really everyone, but I mean, obviously, if you're Randy Rhodes or someone, you wouldn't need to be practicing these fundamental exercises. So just judge for yourself if you think you want to do these or not, if you think they'd be beneficial for you. Let's just start right away with warm ups. So, what I do for warm ups, and this is physical warm ups and not guitar warm ups yet. You do these so you don't get I almost said tinnitus. Well, you don't want that either, but tendonitis, you don't want either of those. They're both icky. So, what you do to like loosen up your wrists and make sure you're all ready to go completely, or what I do anyway, is I just do some stretches like this one. This is the first one. Just bend your whole hand back, including the thumb if you can. Do all of these for maybe 15 seconds each. I'm not going to do them for 15 seconds just for video efficiency. So then once you do that for both hands, you can do this one on only your left hand if you're at a time crunch or something, but do it on both hands if you can. You bend one finger back and then you wiggle all the others. Do that for about 15 seconds for each finger. Bend back, bend back, bend back. And then do the opposite on each hand. You bend it down and then wiggle all the other fingers. Do that for each one. And then both hands if you can. Then after that, this is for both hands always. Bend your thumb back a little bit and you should start to feel a stretch right there. This is good for bar chords on your fretting hand or for. It really helps you pick a lot better, I've found, in your picking hand. So yeah, just bend it back until you feel that stretch, and then you can go the other way too, where you push it in a little bit. But I don't find that to be as beneficial as bending it backwards like this. So do that for both hands. So then we're almost at the end. Don't worry. I just do this where I stretch that gap in between my fingers as much as possible with my other hand, and this helps with flexibility when you're playing. So you can move your fingers a lot faster once you've done this, I've found. Really, since your picking hand, unless you play fingerstyle or something, since your picking hand fingers aren't moving individually that much, you don't really need to do this for your picking hand, but you can if you want. And then lastly, just floppy wrist. I would do some of this just to really loosen up. Make sure you're completely loose before you start playing for hours on end. And finally, I have a guitar. So now we're going to start the actual guitar exercises. The first one being down picking. This is to really help you play those Metallica riffs, those James Hetfield riffs. So once you start doing this exercise for a couple of days regularly, you'll start to see improvements. I can promise you. So even if it might be a bit boring, it's really helpful. So what you're gonna do for this one? Oh, by the way, this is also the only one where you should use distortion. Well, you can do it clean, but for the other ones, you should definitely be clean. This one, you can have some nice distortion. So you want to turn your metronome on. Maybe start around 75 or 70 or something like that, depending on where you feel comfortable starting. I'm going to start it at around 80, actually. So then what you're going to do once you turn this on is you're going to kind of count to 8 in your head. I'll demonstrate that by doing it aloud. I just hit my mic, didn't I? So then you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, and keep doing that. So then you're going to play, for the first 4 times, you're going to play only on the 1. And then after you do that 4 times on the 1 and 2, then 1, 2, 3. And then you go all the way up until you're playing for each of the 8 notes in succession. So I'll demonstrate that. So it should sound like in your head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you do 2. I'll play through the whole exercise. And then once you do that successfully at a certain tempo, go up 5 BPM or something, and keep going up in tempo until you start to feel yourself tense up here, which is you don't want that at all. So once you start to feel yourself tense up, stop. Or if you just physically can't play it, then that's a sign you need to slow down. So go to your limit. Don't go over your limit, but go to your limit every day, at least once. And then in a couple days, your limit should start to grow. So yeah, that is a good one. That is a good exercise to start off with. So next up is something very simple that you should always really be practicing, in my opinion, is scales. These can help you solo over chord progressions if you learn them well enough, or you can just come up with fun little licks on their own if you need to. But an important thing here is don't only memorize scales in one key. That's something that I did for a long time. I would only play in G, so then I could solo pretty well in over G-based chord progressions. But then if any other key came on, I was completely screwed. So don't do what I did. Learn all your keys, all the modes and all the keys. But I'm gonna do G as an example, I guess, because why not? So maybe to spice it up a little bit, I mean, obviously doing just up and down, like, maybe that's what you need to do right now to help you memorize the shapes, but something that I've found is a bit more fun and a bit more beneficial to learn how to kind of link the shapes together is to go up on one, then down on another like this. And then you go up maybe to an octave above where you started, so I messed that up. Oh well, you get the idea. And use a metronome when you do that. I didn't just because it's a very quick example, but always use a metronome whenever possible because it's going to help your rhythm out a lot in the long run. And next we get to the third exercise, which, I mean, really, the last three are variations of the same exercise, which is the spider exercise. And no, not this kind. You've probably heard of the spider exercise before. There are a ton of different variations online. You can find really probably hundreds of different ways to play the spider exercise if you wanted to. I've picked 3, ranging from as easy as possible to one that I found was pretty hard to get down. So yeah, let's just get started. So for the simplest one, it's just going to be this on the screen here. It's, possibly the easiest variation of all. You're just going up 4 frets, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the strings, and then back down in reverse. And use a metronome with this. So I'll do a little demonstration of what I do, because I don't just play that. I do some different rhythm variations of that. So first I start off with just quarter notes on both hands. So my metronome is at 110 BPM right now, FYI. I do is fretting hand quarter notes, other hand, the picking hand eighth notes. That's going to sound like this. And then you do fretting hand, still quarter notes, picking hand 16th notes. This might get a bit tough. And then you can move on to different variations like fretting hand eighth notes, picking hand eighth notes. You get the idea. Or both 16th notes if you want to step it up that level. I'm going to give it a go because why not, but don't expect to do very well. Hey, actually did somewhat decent. And then once you kind of get used to that shape, or once it becomes muscle memory to just go up and down, all boring like that, then you can mix up the shapes. Like instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, you might go 1, 3, 4, 2, and go something like. So yeah, you can mix that up however you want, and it'll still be beneficial, especially if you're using a metronome. Keep that in mind, and also especially if you're on a clean tone. Always want to keep the clean tone when you're doing accuracy exercises like this. So then we move on to the medium spider exercise. This one took me a bit to get down, but that was a year ago, so who knows how long it would take me now. But basically what you're going to do is this on the screen now. How I like to think about it is there's always going to be one finger playing the string below the main one. So on the first set of 4 notes, or 16 really, but the A string is the main one. So then you're going to start with your index finger on the lower string. Then the lower string already had its turn, so you play the 3 above. And then the index already went on the lower string. So then the middle finger is next up. Ring finger, pinky finger. And then you just move that whole set up one string. Oops, I messed that up. And once you get up here, then you do this, which is kind of like the reverse. There's always going to be one finger on the higher string, and you start with the pinky. So, I suck at this. You didn't see that. You didn't see that either. So then you're going to want to do that with a metronome as well. So something like. You get the idea. And then you do that as far up as you want. 12th fret if you feel like it. It might take a while to get there, but hey, it's a fun exercise and it's worth it. So yeah, just do whatever you want. And our last exercise is the hardest spider exercise. This is the one that took me the longest to get down. Who knows how hard it'll be for you, though. I guess it all varies from person to person. So you're going to do this on the screen. It might look complicated, but here's how I like to think about it. So you're going to imagine, this is going to be hard to describe, but you're going to imagine that there's invisible strings above and below your fretboard. So you're always going to be playing this shape. I'll throw a tab on screen if I remember. You're always going to be playing that shape and just moving it up or down those strings. So you're going to imagine you're playing this, but where your index finger falls on the E string. So like pinky, ring, middle, index, pinky, ring, middle, index, pinky, ring, middle, index. And finally you're where all four fingers fall on strings, and then you just move down. Pinky, ring, middle, index, pinky, ring, middle, index, pinky, ring, middle, index. And then you're going to do the same thing but backwards, basically. You pretend there's invisible strings above the fretboard. So then you just go like... Use a metronome on this also. I'm not going to just because I already demonstrated it. It's basically that. And then there's also a variation, which I'd also suggest doing because, you know, as many variations as possible. Always great, right? It's in effect the same thing, but instead of playing this shape, you play this shape. Sounds like an actual chord. What's that? So now you're going to start on the 8th fret on the high E string. And then you're going to do that in reverse, where you go back up. Then you can kind of link them together in a way, like, hold on, I'll go back to the original pattern. Yeah, I'm not playing well right now, but you get the idea. So, yeah, that's the last exercise. Play it as much as you can on a metronome after you learn it, after you get it down. Okay, so that's my simple beginner practice routine. It shouldn't be all you practice in a day. Like, you shouldn't sit down, do this, and then walk away and say, oh, yeah, I'm totally practiced. I'm going to be Eddie Van Halen next summer. No, that's not how it works. You also need to spend time, you know, learning new songs or improvising over a jam track or something like that. One thing you don't want to do is just sit down and play things that you already know by heart or are already in your muscle memory. That's not helping you at all, and really it's just digging that rut deeper for you, and it's going to be even harder to get out in the future. So make sure you branch out a little bit, learn some new stuff. It's, trust me, like, it might be fun to play stuff you already know because you think you're really good and, you know, you're fantastic, I can play this perfectly, but no, when someone asks you to improvise a solo, you're going to be screwed. So yeah, practice these things. They help with finger dexterity a lot, sometimes even, you know, speed. In the case of downpicking, picking hand speed. Even if you don't really feel like doing these exercises, they are really, truly going to help you in the long run. You're just going to have to take my word for it. And not just my word for it. Plenty of people on the internet say to practice these basic exercises too. If you don't believe me, just look it up, okay? And if you don't have the motivation to practice these, then sorry, I can't help you. You're probably just not meant to be a guitar player. So yeah, just pick up your guitar, practice, and have fun. Watch my previous video for what you can expect from my channel. The basic gist of it is videos every Sunday at 5 p.m. But I also talk about what kind of content I'm going to be doing and stuff like that. And also, follow my Instagram, which I forgot to mention in the previous video, but I linked it in the description and in this video's description as well. So go give that a follow if you'd like. Not sure what I'm going to post on it yet, but it exists, so why not follow it, am I right? So yeah, that's it. Practice your music. Bye. Have a fantastic day.